Fitness in 2025 badly needs to embrace philosophy, as without this it will be as ineffective as a chocolate teapot and fall prey to the shallows of consumer influencer culture. Let's see why that is and who are some of the main philosophers to give you mad gains. First up, we all have a philosophy, whether it's examined or whether it's unconscious. This is true in the gym as much as everywhere, where if you're a bona fide professor or you're a meathead doing 50 sets of titties on a Monday because Arnold said so. You're either embodying a really useful gym philosophy or you're stuck repeating someone else's that may not be useful, as I'll come to. Actually, the idea of a physical culture devoid of an intellectual or ethical culture would be completely ridiculous to most of our ancestors, say the Greeks or the samurai. This is a new and bizarre thing we're doing, separating out the physical from the mental, psychological, emotional, even spiritual. So this new way of doing the gym purely as a physical thing comes from the Cartesian philosophy that's at the root of kind of Western modern culture. René Descartes, he was French, enough fucking said. Gym bro is actually like a synonym for stupid amongst normal non-gym going people. The gym's looked down on, and perhaps that's the Cartesian prejudice, but I think a lot of the time, rightly so. Equally, an unexamined gym culture just doesn't work. You see that with the majority of people who quit the gym and in just some of the nonsense you'll see in the gym today. So my claim is that adding intellectual depth to the gym will make it more effective, and it will also mean you're more likely to keep doing it, which again will make it more effective. Okay, so if we don't have an examined gym philosophy, what happens? Well, we take on the main philosophy of our culture. So our culture today is not neutral. We can say it embodies materialism as a philosophy. That might sound good, materialism, iron, that sounds material, right? We lift stuff up and down. But no, let me explain. Materialism is the idea that all that exists is stuff, and this can often lead people to nihilism, like I don't believe in anything. So if you don't believe in anything, you're left with just the values, and I say that advisedly, of material or consumer culture, of you've got to look pretty because someone says so. It's not really a good enough reason for the hard work of the gym. On top of that, it can make us prone to body image issues. Does my triceps look big in this top? How do I look? Can you leave a comment on the internet? We're prone to this in seeing the world as purely material. We can start objectifying ourselves, i.e. seeing ourselves as purely material. And this misses out the humanity. This misses out the experience, the phenomenology, we could say, of being a human being. This is dehumanizing and demotivating if we're working with the body, if we see it as an it, rather than if I see the gym phenomenologically or in embodiment terms as a part of who I am. And again, this was implicit to, say, the Greeks, who saw the body as part of our wholeness as human beings. Therefore, when I'm in the gym working on myself, I'm actually working on myself and not just the stuff, not just meat. Instead, if we're in this nihilistic paradigm, the body is an object and we're more likely to abuse ourselves and, do something, some sort of self-harm like CrossFit. The other thing is nihilism often leads to hedonism. It's like, well, if nothing means anything, I might as well just enjoy myself and party. Doesn't go so well with the gym. What we've also got happening in our nihilistic kind of postmodern world is sort of weird pseudo-religions cropping up. One of the most popular ones today we could call wokeism, and this has victimhood at the heart of it, totally incompatible with working out. You'll even see in our kind of decadent culture, as we're in cultures in collapse, tend to go into this spiral of death-seeking in various ways, like we're just not reproducing, for example. We're celebrating all kinds of non-reproductive ways of being. We're celebrating death in literal and figurative terms. And again, that's not compatible with the gym, which for me is all about embracing life. This embracing of life, this will to be, this is very Nietzschean, so that's a philosopher you should definitely look up if you work out. Nietzsche and his will to power, I think, has a lot to say for those of us who lift weights. Stoicism is another classic philosophy that I think is very congruent with gym culture, learning to embrace suffering, learning to not worry about things we can't control, which is like my fucking genetics, for example, for all of us. Equally, from the Greeks, we could look at Aristotle, so looking at the gym as virtue training. How do we become better people in the gym through overcoming the hardships, through the consistency, what people call discipline? We're building virtues. And given my browser history, I could do it a bit more virtue, and I bet you could too. I've already mentioned phenomenology. The idea of embodiment is what I've been particularly known for in my career. This is the philosophy that the body is much more than a brain taxi, and this makes the gym so much more interesting. And again, if we're interested in it, we're motivated. This counters a lot of the culture we see today as the body beautiful, externally facing as an object. And this is a trap that many people who go to the gym get caught in, of feeling not good enough, looking like they're not perfect. And it's like, yeah, we can keep working on it. But if you're sucked into the sort of social media gym world, having to look a certain way, particularly by influencers who are using lighting and editing, and steroid enhancement, you're never going to look that way. So we might as well have a view of the body which sees it as more than just an object to beautify. For me, this reminds me of existentialism with its philosophical emphasis on living authentically. That doesn't mean just being a to everyone, by the way, for those of you who think, oh, I'm being authentic. There's also something about modern gym culture which is truly absurd, and existentialism says we embrace the absurd, and I think there's a lot of wisdom in that in the modern world. Another philosophy that really enhances the gym practice is Buddhism, mindfulness more generally, if you want to be a bit more secular about it. Actually the experience of the present moment, being in the body rather than trying to get somewhere with our gym process. Yeah, for me, this massively enhances my experience of the gym. And I think strength training is a great enhancement for those of us who meditate as well. The last philosophy we could say the gym really needs is science. And you might not think of this as a philosophy, but philosophy comes from empiricism, for example. This includes the experience yourself. So it isn't just, study scientifically, it's also one's own experience. Here's the thing. In the world today, there's all these competing claims, right? There's all the bro science, all the different ways of doing it. What does bro science mean? It means everyone's got a fucking opinion. How do we differentiate between those opinions? So reason and logic, that's a philosophy. We can actually look at it and go, well, does that actually make sense in that reasoning? Stretch path rules, whatever I'm examining. Also, what are the studies, right? Now, science isn't perfect, of course, but it's a lot better than just random bloke down the gym said so who may just have lucky genetics or whatever. If you look at some of the top people on YouTube, I think rightly so, people like Jeff Nippard or Mike Israetel, there's a bunch of good ones. The reason some of these people are very popular is because they're able to differentiate, right? So this opinion says this opinion says that, there's 200 other opinions. The science sorts that out to some degree. And in this sense, empiricism and science isn't just another abstract philosophy, it's a way of differentiating between competing claims. So it seems to me that the gym is just hitting the scientific revolution. Like, well done lads, playing catch up there, good job. And this is a positive thing. Okay, we shouldn't go into scientism, like overly saying that the only thing that matters is the studies. We have our own experience, there's individual variation, there's things that haven't yet studied. But how else are you going to differentiate between competing claims? Okay, so let's make this practical. What to actually do with all this? Well, you could read some books on philosophy. Obviously, your brain has been ruined by the internet, so watch YouTube. There's a shitload on this channel, but there's loads of great philosophy on YouTube. A lot of which will apply to anyone who likes the gym. So just dive in, whatever point's interesting to you, I would say, is a good place to start. Next up, when you're going to the gym, what's your intention? Like, why am I here? What is this in service to? Maybe you're a Christian and it's something about that. Maybe it's you've got a deep connection in your own philosophy to life and supporting your own family, and it's connecting to that. Like, why are you going to the gym? What virtues are you building? Being intentional about that is my second piece of practical philosophical advice. Thirdly, get in some community around this. I think wisdom comes out between people as much as just bouncing around your own head. It's my experience, because in my own head it's just fucking like, kill all everyone, kill. Don't go in there, it's not good, don't go in there. But in community, I can work some things out with other people. And that's where I think philosophy's lived in community with others, discussing it. Like, this is really key. Beginning point there is just say to your friends, like, why do you go to the gym? What do you get from this? Have those conversations. So to summarize, fitness culture today badly needs philosophy. Otherwise it goes into its weird consumer culture or victim culture. There's things we can do to deepen our practice, starting with a bit of philosophical study. If you like this video, you might like our more muscular self-improvement video here.